motion to amend the agenda to consider the behavior of a board member. Can I please get a motion?
I would like to amend the agenda in consideration of behavior of a board member.
Thank you. Can I get a second, please?
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The motion passes. At this time, we need to consider the interruption of the education process, and I'm going to read from some model policy language. The board recognizes that failure to deal with deliberate or continuing violations of law, board policies, or lapses in good judgment by its school board members risks the loss of community confidence and damages the board's ability to govern effectively. Therefore, in the event of a board member's willful and/or continuing violation of law, policy, or judgment, the board will address the issue through the following process, which is intended to escalate only as necessary. And I'm going to read through some of the steps that we've taken so far. Conversation in a private setting between the offending school director and the board chair or another individual school director. Discussion in a properly convened executive session between the offending school director and the full board. We will, we have, the two steps we've taken, I'm sorry, this is not generally in my wheelhouse and particularly difficult. Unfortunately, one of our board members, Director Adams, posted something attacking a staff member on her personal Facebook page, which then was shared widely. This was something that had been previously sent directly to the staff member and people in her child's care team sort of orbit. This has disrupted the educational processes of our district. It is unbecoming behavior of a school board member. And I am calling on the board to address this. We do not allow attacks on staff in private or in public. It damages our ability to govern effectively, and the failure to address this appropriately prohibits us doing the business of the district. In short, it is a breach of trust. I am proposing that the board censure Director Adams. My understanding is that as we are a second-class district, my proposal counts as a motion. Can I get a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Discussion.
Nope, sorry. I'd like to open it up for some discussion.
I will publicly say that I am sorry that my behavior affected the educational process in any way, has cost this board and the administration time. And that I truly felt I was speaking as a parent of a disabled child, not as the board member. And it was my intent to take that step personally. I will not do that in the future, as has been very thoroughly proposed, and that is, I am sorry for any problems that will cause in the trust of the team moving forward. But at this time, I am not willing to step down from my role because of it.
Anybody else like to say anything?
I want to recognize that we live in a very small community and that it is difficult sometimes to maintain roles, but being a board member has its burdens and its responsibilities, and sometimes that causes problems. And I hope that lessons are learned and that we can go forward, that we can build trust with the rest of the institution which we all, every single board member cares deeply about. This I am sure. And I am proud that I am on a board where people care so much and so deeply about this institution. And I guess that's all I want to say.
River or Lucia?
Don't have River.
Oh, you're muted, River. She's
Oh,
trying.
no, she needs-
Oh, yeah, you can unmute her. Maybe, can you unmute?
While she's trying to figure that out. I am sorry that this happened. And I hope that we can recover from this with staff and that we can develop trust
Hold on, River. Lucia's speaking, but we hear you.
and thank you. And that the staff give us an opportunity to demonstrate that we can do this job with the best of our abilities. And just is a reminder that we cannot take off our board hat, even if we want to. Even if we believe we should, or we believe that we can, we can't.
Go ahead, River.
There are a lot of pieces that have already been articulated, and were articulated as we discussed this as a board in executive session. I think an aspect that I also want to center is the harm to an individual, and I addressing policy and procedure, I'm all on board, but I think that there has been significant harm, not just to the trust in terms of the board and the leadership, but also with a very specific individual. And I want to acknowledge that.
May I speak?
Please.
Thank you, River, for addressing that. As superintendent of this school district, the staff are my responsibility. And an attack on our staff members, any of them, is an attack on the superintendent. It's unacceptable. I appreciate that the board is addressing the issue. I find it unconscionable that we would ever allow anyone to be spoken to in that manner, no matter who they are, no matter the issue. And I personally have apologized to the staff member for not providing enough cover and protection. I worked very hard with this board to open the doors of trust with the team, and I put myself out there with the team to say that this board is working hard to try and rebuild a trusting environment where we can all work together effectively. I did that in ways like suggesting that board members speak directly to administrators, just keeping the superintendent in the loop. These are things that superintendents do when there is trust built, that I don't need to be the intermediary in those conversations. So I feel responsible for the staff that I supervise. And I have apologized profusely to this staff member for not protecting them. And I believe that we are compromised in our ability to lead, and I still am not sure how we move forward together. That is yet to be seen. Thank you for the opportunity to say something.
Thank you, Dr. Mocha. Barring any further comments or discussion, I'd like to vote on the censure of Director Adams. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. I would also, at this time, like to make a motion to remove Director Adams from the role as warrant officer, a position in which she currently serves. Can I get a motion to remove Director Adams?
I move to remove Dr.
Sorry, my fault.
Jessica Adams from the warrant officer.
Thank you. Can I get a second, please?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So be it. We will, at a future meeting, find another director to sit in that position. I believe at this time, this concludes this particular part of the meeting. As a matter of procedure, I'd like to offer a brief land acknowledgement. The Vashon Island School District stands on the ancestral lands of the Squash or Swift Water people who inhabited Vashon Maury Island for millennia. The Donation Land Claim Act encouraged large numbers of settlers to claim land even before the Medicine Creek Treaty of 1854 extinguished native claims to it. They were imprisoned on Fox Island during the Puget Sound Treaty Wars by the territorial government and later relocated to the Puyallup Reservation. We acknowledge the people of the Puyallup tribe whose stewardship of and relationship with Vashon Maury Island continues today. Thank you. Okay. This is an opportunity for public comment. Thank you. Dr. Spencer?
President, members of the board and community, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I need to address a serious matter involving a recent email sent, followed by a public post by a member of this board regarding an administrator. These actions involved sharing personal, mean-spirited, and false allegations, bypassing every established process we rely on for addressing concerns. This conduct represents a significant breach of trust. Our governance team depends on confidentiality, professionalism, and adherence to protocol. When a board member publicly criticizes an administrator's personal matters or distributes a libelous statement for the larger community to consume, it creates a hostile work environment and damages the reputation of the district at a time when we are working to attract highly qualified superintendent candidates. As a leadership team, we work every day to model the behavior we expect across the district: respect, due process, and accountability. The actions taken in this situation violated those expectations and compromised the relationship required between the board and its administrators. To reestablish stability, integrity, and confidence in our governance system, the administrative leadership team believes 2 steps are necessary. First, a full and unequivocal public apology acknowledging the harm caused. And second, the resignation of the board member involved. This is not said lightly. It is said because the trust required to function as a unified governance team has been severely damaged, and we do not see a path forward that restores the trust while you remain in this role. Restoring trust with the district and with our community requires both accountability and a clear path forward. I know the leadership team remain committed to working with the board to rebuild a healthy, professional, and transparent governance environment without the presence of the offending member. Thank you. And I'd like to say, Kwahalek, Habalek, which is be kind, be thoughtful, and be sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Spencer. Is there anybody else that would like to speak at this time? Okay. The consent agenda Barring any objections, I'd like to recommend that it passes as written.
Hearing none.
Hearing none,
Consent agenda passes.
I'm pausing for reflection.
Okay.
Thank you. Hearing none, the consent agenda passes
Excuse me.
as
I
presented.
apologize.
Dramatic pause.
Got it.
Okay, Christine, thank you so much for joining us. We would love to hear about the superintendent search update at this time. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My colleague John Dash, I hope, is joining me. We appreciate the opportunity
Hi, John.
Hi, John.
to check in with you this evening and share this important milestone at the conclusion of the first phase of the process, which is the engagement phase. So we'd like to just share some highlights from the leadership profile report. And then we'd like to provide also a brief search update and see if you have any questions for us. So Peter, thank you for your help as always. We have a short PowerPoint that kicks off with a reminder of the 4 phases, especially for the public. And this particular report and report out tonight is all about the summary of the engagement phase. So the next slide. And just a reminder, we had an incredible amount of participation throughout the engagement phase, whether those were one-on-one interviews, focus groups, and a forum, opportunities for students, your incredible student reps here as well, students, staff, families, and the community at large. And John will talk a little bit more about the details there. But all of that information was input looking for the major themes that emerged. So John?
Sure, yeah, so the next slide will show a table of total participation across all forms of engagement. And you see a total of 213 and the breakdown above that number. I would also point out that if we go to the next slide here, on the survey, you see the pie chart there, but I do have some numbers for you. Among the 127 responses to the survey, the largest number in terms of subgroup there was family members. 77 of the 127 were folks that self-identified as family members. The next closest number were your certificated staff at 25. A solid showing, and we really enjoyed our on-site opportunities to get to know people and really listen.
And we mentioned to you a rough target that we keep in mind when we visit with communities, and you've exceeded that target, so we weren't surprised about that either. So thank you for that. And again, a reminder for everyone, we were really looking at 3 main questions. So we do want to just highlight what emerged as the major themes under each of those 3 questions. So starting with strengths. You all know this is a special place. And we're not going to read these to you, but again, the full report, which I might mention to the community at large, is about an 18-page report that has much more detail included in it. So this will be posted online under the superintendent search page, either this evening or tomorrow, possibly, Peter. So anyone who's interested in further detail. So many strengths to celebrate, and these were, again, the main themes that emerged. So we'll take a look at challenges. John?
Sure, so with the challenges, you'll see the list here. I thought I would call out an explanation for some of these. So as we look at the communication and transparency, the idea there was to look at continuous improvement of timely communication and greater transparency. And as we listen to people, the transparency in district leadership, for some of them looked backward to the former administration, and so it's not at all an indictment of the current team, but just a focus on continuing to work on timely communication and greater transparency, as you'll see in the report. And as already been mentioned tonight, there was also a theme that this work would also go a long way to rebuilding the trust that's already been mentioned tonight with staff, families, and community members as a priority. In terms of governance and trust, we did learn from several folks that there were leadership challenges between the board and the former superintendent, which contributed to some mistrust in the organization, particularly between administrators and the board. And so the good news is, while many folks mentioned greater role clarity between governance and administration, continues to be a priority. With Dr. Mocha's work already as the interim superintendent, there's been progress that people are seeing and appreciating. But it was noted that the distinction between roles in terms of administration and the board will be an important priority moving forward. Another one, and probably one of the most prominent challenges, was the financial stability and enrollment decline. And we did not only see data around this, but a lot of folks aware. So there's not really an awareness challenge for the system, but there's some concern regarding how will we manage this moving forward, a major piece of work for the next superintendent. How will we maintain a stable fund balance while ensuring fiscal accountability? And I think one of the greatest challenges will be folks really value the programming and the opportunities provided to students. How do you maintain all of that while you're also having to find ways to spend less? Outside of that, there were some areas where there were strengths and also some challenges, and one of those areas was safety and student behavior. And so, on the strength side, we did hear generally from stakeholders that safety was an overall strength of the district, but even some students indicate that some bullying, substance abuse, and inconsistencies in student consequences across schools remain an issue that stakeholders believe requires some greater consistency and the use of effective systems and strategies to both prevent and respond to behavior issues. And the last is both a challenge and I think an opportunity that while there's some anxiety around a leadership transition, and that's the challenge, there's some optimism that the transition also represents a chance to rebuild stability, restore public confidence, align governance, operations, and instruction around shared community values and what we believe is a shared vision of where you'd like to go next. And so that's just a high-level summary. Like Chris said, I would encourage you to take a look at the actual document for greater clarity on the ones they didn't cover in detail.
Thank you, John. And finally, the third question was about your desired, qualities and characteristics in your next superintendent. We did hear often, just please ask Dr. Mocha to stay, or could we clone her? So either one of those was mentioned often. So, but these 9 emerged as the top themes and desires for qualities in your next leader. So again, much more detail in the full report, and we'll be talking with the board about how you may want to incorporate these characteristics and these challenges, frankly, in the process moving forward, right? Interview questions, screening tools, so much more to come as we move into that next phase. The next slide is something new that you are the first district that we have included this report that our sister company puts together for districts, and they've been doing this back east for quite a while, Midwest and the East Coast primarily. But they offered it to us because we're working with you, and we thought absolutely, the more information the better. And some of the districts in Washington are actually purchasing this report for their use in their districts for strategic planning and other. So we're pleased to include it. John's got a few highlights he would like to point out, and then we'll end there with see what questions you might have for us. So John?
Thank you. Yes, so this particular report utilized state report card data from OSPI from 2022-23 and 2023-24, those academic years, on multiple metrics. They look at student achievement data, financial information for the district, student demographics, other district characteristics, and high school achievement. And before I get into some of the highlights that we noticed, I want to honor the work of your instructional leaders there, because I'm sure they dive much deeper than we had the opportunity to do. And so often when you look at reports like this, there's more questions that it'll generate, which is a healthy thing. So if any of what I shared prompts you to wonder, that's a good thing, and we would encourage you to visit with your instructional leadership folks, because I'm certain they have some additional perspective and possibly some more data they could share that would shed more light on any of this. So our review, as we looked at aggregate student achievement, so all of your students, there's a lot to celebrate there. In English language arts, math, and science, the district is well above the state, and across both years, English language arts performance improved for students compared to other districts, and math remained steady, and science fell only slightly by 4%. It was also something we noted later in that report, that your low-income student performance exceeds the state in all three subject areas. And while there are a handful of districts that may be outperforming you with low-income students, you're also your performance level is well above most if you look at the chart that's included in the report. The report also looks at student growth percentiles, and again, the district's very strong in mathematics, which remains steady in terms of growth across both years. ELA was also strong, but slightly behind the math numbers. And the ELA high growth metric grew by 10% from 23 to 24, another reason to celebrate. We looked at high school graduation data that they included. Your 4-year rate increased across those 2 years by 31%, from the 84th percentile to a 92.6% rate. Your 5- and 6-year graduation rates were very high in 2023. The 5-year rate slipped in 24 by about 6%, but extremely high, which tells us that there's effort being made to try and help students even after their 4th year cross that finish line with a diploma. The post-secondary data, they track exit outcomes for students that choose to attend 2-year and 4-year. The 4-year metric for the district is at the 97th percentile, very, very high. And then they also measure a persistence metric, which means do kids stick with it once they've enrolled? And it improved for that 2-year window for students attending 2-year post-secondary institutions. It fell for the 4-year students, but we also noticed that the district's at the 99th percentile for students earning a bachelor's degree 8 years after they complete high school. So folks might wonder, well, how does that work with 8 years? Well, some students choose another path, take a break, those kinds of things, but to reach the 99th percentile in earning the bachelor degree is an outcome to be proud of. Financially, the district, and this would be a reminder, as a smaller district, the overhead challenges in terms of costs are greater than larger districts that have an economy of scale to work with. So with that grain of salt, I would share with you that the data will show that instructional expenditures per pupil are below the state level. with the district at the 27th percentile and then the 22nd percentile across the 2 years. The total expenditure per pupil is only slightly below the state at the 47th and 44th percentiles. And then support service expenditures are slightly higher than the state, which makes sense given the other data. And when they say support services in this context, what they mean are the non-instructional operational costs, like your maintenance of the buildings, paying your utility bills, and some administrative support costs. So that one merits a whole lot deeper dive that your financial leader, I know, is capable of if you have questions there. And finally, we looked at your student demographics, and they're mostly steady. And so the only thing we did notice is that your homeless population increased by 10%, and your students with disabilities category by 6% across those 2 years. And we're not sure if that trend continued this year, but that's something you could be looking at. We did confirm that across these 2 years, there was a 56 student decline in enrollment, and so the enrollment challenge was confirmed, but there was a slight improvement in student attendance, and in that same time frame, they noted a 10% increase in the students taking CTE prep courses. Other values in that category were pretty much consistent, and that's what we were able to call out for you in terms of highlights.
Thank you, John. And again, a reminder that all the detail behind those highlights that John just shared are in the full leadership profile report, taking up about 11 pages or so of the report. So with that, we wanted to conclude this portion and see if you have any questions for us on the leadership profile report or the engagement phase. And then I'd like to provide just a quick update about the search to date. So any questions or comments?
Curious if there's anything in the report that was surprising, or if it sort of told the story you thought it would once it was all kind of put together.
Yeah, I think each of us could probably take a turn at that. I think once we had several one-on-one interviews under our belt, the themes started to emerge, and I don't think there were really any surprises that made the top of the list. There's clarity, I think, in this feedback about next steps for the district and the community. John, anything you'd like to add there?
No, just a strong sense of pride in the legacy that the district has had for many years, and a commitment to wanting to preserve that moving forward despite the challenges. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't say that, as we talked with students, there was very high regard for the staff that are serving them, and the level of commitment and care that they show for each student. In fact, I recall, just as an example, a student that transfers in from West Seattle mentioned that compared to her prior school, she receives a whole lot more attention and individualized assistance in your district compared to her prior placement. And I think that's just one small example of that theme, in terms of what we heard from students there. Again, something to celebrate.
And I would just echo and highlight as well, the board superintendent team is an absolute critical factor for the success of the students that we're talking about. And so the road forward, the opportunities to build a better future must start there. And I will just jump into a quick update about the recruitment. We have several months left, but to date we have 11 applicants that are in the pipeline that have done their homework and they're serious about this. That's been a pretty steady number though for the last several weeks. So I know that many that we've talked to are also watching tonight. Okay? And so we look forward to posting the report and following up with folks who may have further questions for us. And hopefully they will follow through on their applications as well. pointing out just a couple key dates, especially for the community at large. A reminder, it closes on January 9. We will be presenting the candidates to the board on January 14. That's all the candidates. The board will choose 5 or 6, or wherever that cut line is, to invite for semifinalist interviews January 23. And then they will choose probably 3, it may be 2, it may be 4, candidates to move forward as finalists. So right now, the days we're holding are February 2, 3, and 4, 3, 4, and 5. February 3, 4, and 5, depending on which model the board prefers for finalists. And we appreciate the discussion we've had thus far with our liaisons regarding the pros and cons of whether to go with a 1-day model or a 3-day model. And we can share some of those highlights depending on your preference this evening and the time that you have allotted. So let us know if you would like to jump in.
Did anybody have any strong feelings one way or another about the various models? And we did lose River, right? I'm not waiting for her to chime in. I think we lost her.
Yeah,
Okay,
she said
thank
she-
you. Okay, that's what I thought, great. Anybody have any thoughts about it? 1-day, 3-day?
I originally thought 3-day, but then when you think about what that does in the disruption of the institution, and it's a model that would work maybe better in a bigger district, but I am really strongly leaning towards 1 day, because while there are some downsides to that, sort of a long day, lots of engagement, possible, kind of, boy, am I tired of this kind of thing. I think it gives the maximum amount of sort of people that work in the district the opportunity to participate without having to disrupt their job too much, and I think that's a huge factor in a tiny district like ours. So I'm leaning towards getting the candidates here and doing a full 1-day shot. That's just where I'm at.
Anybody else?
So 1 day, 3 to 4 candidates, so we're talking 2 to 3 hours each for those finalists?
No, let's say there's 3, let's just assume that. They're in the district all day long. It's a marathon day, probably starting at 7:30 or 8 in the morning, going until
It's a very round robin.
8 at night, yeah. So it is a round robin, they have, stations they're rotating through, and it ensures a comparable experience too for the candidates.
Yeah. Lucia, anything jump out at you one way or another?
My question would be, and I think you answered that, but just for the public to hear, what is, in your experience, what's best?
Oh, best is tough. I have a T-chart of, plus minus for whichever version you go with. I would say the majority of the districts have shifted to the 1-day version. When you weigh out the time involved over 3 days and the impact to the schools in particular, and third, really thinking about, is it too much to ask of your staff and your community, for instance, to come out 3 nights in a row to meet the finalists? And if they don't, are you ensuring some authentic feedback, right? So those are the, cons to the 3 days. But again, the 1 day is a pretty crazy, hectic schedule, but it's the work of a superintendent, so.
Yeah, it does reflect the reality of the job.
Yes. That's part of the test.
I feel like we're maybe leaning to, did you have anything there?
1 day just feels more equitable. I feel like if we do 3 days, they're not gonna all get the same experience. There's no way, especially in this community, that can happen. It just feels more equitable for a future employee and our teams, right? Like, it's a long process for them too.
Can we carry forward that we're, I can check in with River, but at this point, I don't know that it merits a whole lot more conversation.
I moved for a 1 day.
Let's go ahead and do a 1 day.
Great, and again, Peter, maybe you can help us with which of the 3 days works best for the board? Right now, we're holding all 3,
Yeah.
so it'd be nice to let go of the other 2, if we can narrow that down sooner than later. Pleasure working with you. We look forward to our discussions about next steps, moving into the 3rd phase, which is the selection phase.
We appreciate you, Chris.
Take
Thanks
care.
for being here,
Yeah.
John.
Thank you.
for making the trip over the water.
It was uneventful. Great, let's move on to hear from our student board representatives, please.
I can start us off. Our cross-country team just got back from state this weekend. We placed 4th, which is the first time the boys team has ever done in our high school's history, which is awesome.
That's
Impressive.
Yeah, most fall teams have already had their team banquets. We just had our cross-country banquet last night, so it was good to see everyone one last time. And the football team had their last game, I think, last week, right? Yeah. And we had a fun pep assembly for that.
They played Southwood Union.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was a nail biter.
Also today we got our second SAB club meeting with the student club, and we had another good turnout. We have a good mix of like grades, commuters, and like different perspectives. And yeah, it's shaping up to be a good group of kids this year. So yeah,
Which Henry actually led today,
yep.
which is pretty fun for him. Winter sports start next Monday, which is girls basketball, boys basketball, and wrestling. So that's gonna be really exciting, and then we're just excited for balls the next week. That's all really
I assume you're wrestling this year again?
Yeah.
Your last big year?
Yeah.
Amazing.
going out with bang.
Yeah. Can I ask, are you looking at colleges with wrestling? Is that,
I-
colleges have girls wrestling?
I'm looking at if they have wrestling, then I'll probably do it, but I'm not gonna wrestle for college. I was looking, the colleges that I wanted to don't have the programs, so I'm gonna prioritize
Yeah.
education.
Smart. Is that all?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much, y'all. Dr. Moshe, national policy updates, please.
I have nothing new to add. The government is opening, and that's good news for folks who need assistance especially. But there was nothing that came through that was really different.
Do you know, is this month, are we just skipping the OSPI webinar? I didn't see a because it would have been last.
Would have been Tuesday, and I don't see a rescheduling.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right then. Lovely. Moving on, decision portion of the agenda, resolution 826, talking about the February 2026 educational programs and operations, also known as the EP&O levy. Dr. Moshe.
So this resolution came through the attorneys, and it's designed to maximize the amount we can collect from the community, and there is no tax increase. This is a tax renewal, as they call it. This is a continuation of the same level of taxation. And this is the levy that basically supplements the amount of we get from the state. And without it, as you can see in what it says in the resolution, if we scroll down, lots of program is supported by this, and it would be a real problem if this $6 or $7 million did not come through. I happen to know that there is a community group that supports this work and will be engaged in this work. We do have to have a pro and con statement for the voters pamphlet, which we've put out, or will be putting out once this is approved, a request for a pro and con person or persons to come forward. They have to be community members, and that would go in the voters pamphlet. So, thank you for considering this evening. It is due into the state, or the county actually, by the 12th of December, so that's why it's on your agenda for tonight. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Great, so.
We did talk about this a couple of different
Yes,
times in
yes, we
public with the board, so.
And once again, it's a renewal, it's not a new.
It's a renewal.
It's a renewal.
Yep.
And this takes us through, it looks, scrolling through this, it looks like it takes us through 2030.
Yeah, we're doing a 4-year
Outstanding.
And it's not a tax improvement,
increase.
Tax
No, it is
increase,
not.
no
It's
tax
a,
increase.
it's a renewal of the same.
Same rate.
Yes, and this is another one of those things that are, if we are successful, it sets us up nicely for a new superintendent to not have to work on a levy walking in the door.
Great, bearing all that in mind, can I get a motion to approve resolution number 826 regarding the EP&O levy?
I move to approve, levy resolution for 2026, is that?
That's fine, resolution 826.
Yep.
Can I get a second, please?
A second.
Great, thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Fantastic. Resolution 826 passes. Moving on. Thrilled to have Dr. Moshe tell us about the ratification of the 2025 to 27 SEIU collective bargaining agreement.
Many thanks to Amy and others who have worked on this with the superintendent. As you know, when I arrived, we had every contract yet to settle. This is the last one, and once again, the collective bargaining unit voted 100% in favor of this and ratified it today. So it's presented in its green line, which is all the change that we have tentatively agreed to. And so once again, I am recommending that the board consider approving this collective bargaining agreement.
Outstanding. Can I get a motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement?
I'd like to move to approve the 10/30/25 SEIU contract agreement.
Thank you. Great, second, please. Second, thanks, Lucia. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Outstanding.
Another item off the list of things to prepare for the new superintendent.
Great.
Okay.
Moving on, this is an updated policy 5010, non-discrimination and affirmative action.
And you have looked at this several times, so it's decision-making for tonight.
Great. Any questions before we go ahead and vote? Can I get a motion then to approve 5010, non-discrimination and affirmative action, please?
I approve 5010 non-discrimination and affirmative action.
Can I get a second, please?
I second the motion to approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Outstanding, 3 for 3 so far. Now, this is a new one tonight, policy 3425, new, meaning it is a new policy. We have discussed it previously, accommodating students with adrenal insufficiency. Dr. Mocha?
Yes, thank you, and I see my friend Brandy in the audience. She is our, one of our esteemed RNs working in the district, and I know that just this evening, she was summoned, and so I appreciate, Brandy, that you took the time to come here, and I wonder if you have any comments or suggestions for the board's policy.
As far as comments are concerned, I was reading over and I was trying to make sure to see how it was mirroring the diabetes protocols and the seizure protocols, and the wording's a little bit different. But I just found out about this, I think, yesterday, so I don't have any specific details to offer. I know that we have to have it because this says that we have to have it by the end of this year, so I understand the importance of getting it done, but I haven't had a chance to double check to see the wording versus what we already have, if there needs to be any adjustments.
Is it possible for us to punt this to our next regular meeting?
Well, we
or-
can do it one of two ways. If
Okay.
you don't have any strong feelings about it, the board can approve it, and then if Brandy has concerns that she comes up with, we can modify it in the future. Or you can, is that,
I like that version because, yeah, as long as we can modify it, it's fine with me, 'cause
Outstanding.
Just to clarify, Joe, could you explain how this policy came to the districts?
oh, absolutely. So WASDA, which is the School Boards Association, often recommends policies to the district this was considered essential because the rules changed at the legislative level. And so this is called out separately. As I'm sure Brandy can tell you, any student who has a health issue would have a health plan that the nurses would help create and then implement. So if there was a student in the district with adrenal insufficiency, they would have a health plan. This calls it out specifically. I don't know where that came from legislatively, but that's why this policy came to our attention. And so you often get these policies that get either recommended for implementation from WISD. And so we put them in front of you so that they can be considered. The misstep on my part is not getting to Brandy sooner, so.
And maybe we can find the RCW.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. Yep.
There's one.
Are people comfortable doing as Dr. Moshe suggested, going ahead and approving this with the understanding, as with all policies, if we need to go back in and make an adjustment, we can do that? Is that acceptable to folks? Great.
That's good common sense, I think.
I think so too, I like it. Great, so policy 3425, accommodating students with adrenal insufficiency. Can I please get a motion to approve?
I move to approve policy 3425.
Thank you. Can I get a second, please?
A second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Outstanding. Thank you very much. This is that's the end of our decision portion. This is a second opportunity for public comment. Any public comments in the room tonight? Hearing none, we will move on to the closing items section. Superintendent report, please.
So superintendent report, I just want to call out that our student board members and our school board will be attending WISD next Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We have travel plans and logistics that will be or have been sent your way, but just so that folks are aware, we're going to use the foot ferry walk-on, and it's under a mile's walk to the event. And so we will travel together sometime around the 7:15 a.m. mark because the boot camp begins at 9 a.m. It goes till 2 that first day, then there's some afternoon sessions, a president's dinner, and then sessions all day Friday, and then an event Friday evening. And then by Saturday by noon, we come back. In terms of what I have done over the last week is everything that we talked about at the origin of this meeting is what I have spent my time working on with staff and trying to come to a place of resolution. Other than that, we are just busy with the work of the district, and moving into the holiday season, it seems that everybody starts to get a little nervous or excited or whatever the feeling is that goes on in school buildings. They have a life of their own. So that's really all I had to add this evening.
Thank you. Any board director remarks tonight?
I would like to start with a public thank you to Julie and Karen for a tour of Chautauqua. And I got to have, well, we both got to have lunch with the 2nd and 5th graders. And I realized this was my first experience ever having lunch with grade school, because where I came from, we didn't do that in school, we went home. And I was very impressed with the ambiance of the classrooms, the attention to detail that our staff does in terms of just sneaking education in on every wall and in every form. And because I was not a grade school teacher, it was a real pleasure. So I just want to thank the staff for their time.
I'll go ahead and jump on that since I was on that same tour. Yeah, not only did we have a lovely lunch, and I got to explain to a bunch of 5th graders what exactly a board director does. I think we're unsatisfied with most of my answers. But we also visited the sort of newly imagined 1st and 2nd grade multi-age room, and the sort of the collapsible, whatever those sort of retractable walls were pushed back, so that it really was a blended, double-sized classroom, and just the quality of attention of the learners and kids finding their own way. Martha even commented on the quality of light in there. They do a lot to just make it a very calm learning environment, and it was a real pleasure to be there. So thanks also to Julie and Karen for having us. Anybody else?
I want to thank Dr. Allison. I also took a tour at McMurray, and it was really well organized, and he brought 6 students to the circle. We had opportunity to ask them questions, and they took us around into the classrooms, and the energy of the students and the teachers is just very positive, and it's just very inviting. The students had opportunity to voice their concern about their bathrooms, and just Dr. Allison is on it, and there's plans to make changes. Hopefully they come with the bond, I believe, right?
Actually, we're doing it with levy dollars
Oh,
fairly
yay.
soon. Yeah.
Wow.
It'll be so happy.
Everybody there, I love it, and, yeah, I mean, overall, like you said, a lot of positive posters around, and be kind, be helpful, I mean, it's just, when we are, a community that is closed and loving, and it's just really, really positive, really inviting. It was really a good experience seeing that it's really not that scary. Sometimes it's portrayed as always, this is happening, and this is happening, and it is happening. I'm not denying that, but I think it's being watched, and it's being taken care of, and it's not being ignored. So, yeah, thank you to Dr. Allison for the time.
I want to reiterate that. It was really nice to see those middle schoolers thriving, and they had such positive things to say about the school and their environment. That was really great to hear, because sometimes we only hear the wrong side of that. So it was great to see that. It was nice to talk to Dr. Allison about, the different model he's also experiencing there without a vice principal and psychologists really helping out and making that inclusive model happen. I think we have amazing staff, and they really truly care about our kids, and it's really good to see that our kids feel it too.
Right. I don't think we made any commitments tonight that need to be noted. So I think here we are at 6:58, and I adjourn this meeting. Thanks, everyone. Can I ask you real quick? This is a question for another time. Let's also know-